Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to see a short demo on how to create a REST-based web services using Spring Boot Initializer. So basically, we'll be using a few tools. One tool is Spring Initializer to create the dummy project that we can import into our Eclipse workspace. I would say starter project that we can import in our workspace in Eclipse. We'll be using Eclipse to write the program, and we'll be using Postman to test the REST web services. So let's begin. So first of all, I'll go to the Spring Initializer uh, site. As you can see, this is the URL of the site. Here you can change some configuration to download the starter project. So we'll be using Java and we'll be using Maven. I'll keep the default options for Spring Boot and I'll change the group to UST. And let's create a web service microservice for user. So we'll be doing some CRUD operation on user. Okay. So I'll choose Java 8 and dependencies I'll be using web, Spring Web. That will be enough for developing, RESTful web services. And I'll also use Spring Boot dev tools. The advantage of using this is whenever I'll make a change in my code, I do not have to restart my application. It will be automatically taken care of by these dev tools. Now, if I click this explore button, you see the starter form. This is a form file which is called a starter form, which will basically help me to download all the dependencies required for this project. So then I'll close it. And if I now click the generate button, it is going to download the starter project for me. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to copy this project and import in my, it was, another one was there. So let me just import this one here, override. Okay. So I am going to import this project here. I'll import the Maven project, Spring Boot Maven project from this wizard where I'll click existing Maven project, click next. I'll have to choose the location where this project resides. Okay, and I'll just finish it. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to download the dependency. So I'll click Maven and update project. You can check this box force update to forcefully download all the dependencies. So now everything is downloaded. You can see the Maven dependencies are appearing here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a few packages so that I'll have a different layers for my repository as well as for my service and controller. So I'll start with uh, uh, my entities or DTOs. So for that, I'll create a package called DTO. Inside that, I'll create a user class. So for now, I'll just have two properties. One is the ID, another is the name. And I will add the getters and setters so that I can easily access the properties. And I'll also have toString method added, which is a standard, thing to do. So now my data transfer object is ready. Now I'll create another package for my repository. Okay, so for now, I'm not going to connect to any database. We'll be using some hard-coded data. Okay, so in the repository package, I'll create a class called user repo. Okay, and I'll annotate this class with repository annotation. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll have one list that is going to contain the user list. Okay, and I'll make it to null. So we'll be for now we'll be using mm, for now we'll be using a hard coded uh, list of users. Okay, so I'll add this input. So I'll have a constructor where I'll be basically setting up the list. Okay, so I'll using constructor, and in this constructor what I'm going to do, I'm going to create the user list is equal to new array list, and then we have this. Okay, so let's create some user objects. So u1 is equal to new user dot set id is equal to 1 id1, and u1 dot set name, say my name. Okay, similarly I will create another object. Okay, I'll make it 2 and 2 2 2, and I'll make it say object. Now what I'm going to do is I'll add these two objects in the list. Okay, so I'll say user list dot add u1, and then user list dot add u2. So my list is ready. So I'm going to create one method which is going to return me the list of users, all users. Okay, so I'll say list user, and I'll name it as get all users. Okay, which is going to return me this user list. So I'm done with my repository. Now I'll create my service layer. So for that I'll create a package called service. Okay, and in this service I'll create a class called user service. So to make it is a Spring Bean, I'll annotate it with service at the rate service. Now this user service will have a dependency on user repository, so I have to inject that dependency. I'll basically auto-ware that. So I'll say user repo. Now the advantage of auto-waring is I do not have to manage the life cycle of this user repo bin. It will be automatically managed by the Spring container, right? So here also I'll create one method called get all users, which is going to return me the list of users. Okay, and I'll just import this java.user.import. Okay, and then I'll import the user. So the simple thing I have to do is I have to just say return user repo dot get all users. So I have to make it to public. I'll make it to public as well. Okay, so the last layer I need to write is the controller layer. So I'll create a package called user.controller. Okay, and in this user.controller I'll create my user controller class. All right, so since this is a REST controller, I'll be using the REST web services here, exposing my REST web services here. I'll annotate it with REST controller. Now this REST controller will be having a dependency on user service. So I will inject the user service dependency here. Auto it, and here I'll just return the, I'll write a get all users, which is going to return the return. So I'll have to import this. Now I'll use this get mapping annotation to make sure that this is just to indicate that this is a get REST web service. Okay, and this is the path I'll specify for the web service. So I'm all good. I'm done. Let's run it. So I'll go to this user application.java, run the application. So now you see this application is running at localhost 8080. So what I'll do is I'll just go to first my browser, and I'll say localhost 8080 slash users. You see the list. I can do the same thing from my postman. So I click this, and you see this JSON array is coming up. So that's it, guys. Hope you have enjoyed and understood how to create simple REST-based web services using Spring Boot Initializer and Eclipse. Thanks for watching this video.